right, it's story time, and today the story is going to revolve around this guitar, sort of, and I'm not going to tell you what this guitar is yet. Wait till the end of the video for that. If you want to guess, drop a comment below. But today we're talking about this right here. The Atlas C1, as you can see here, is a sort of jig or clamp that is designed to go on your 3-on-a-side Gibson style headstock with a break angle of anywhere between 10 to 28 degrees. What the designer, Pat Garrity, who you might know from the brown box tube amp voltage attenuator, what he quickly found out is it's not only useful for those of you who are building or repairing guitars, it's useful for average people like me who have guitars that they should be protecting in their most vulnerable states. And that would be when shipping, carrying in a case to and from a gig, while traveling even in an airplane, or just sitting on a stand at home. How many horror stories do we have of guitars with headstocks like this being knocked off of a stand and breaking? It doesn't take much. If you know, you know, as they say. And the way it works is you've got two screws here, and they fold flat for easy storing. Two contact points, and then this felt covered brace in the back, where it's very simple. You put it on, get it in the right position, tighten down, finger tight. You do not have to clamp these down tight. So some of you who are out there wondering, hey, is this gonna damage the truss rod cover, or is it gonna damage the fretboard or fret? No, it's not. It's because you're only putting it down finger tight. And also there's some protective padding, leather here on this one that's on the string and the fret, and then plastic and rubber on the one that goes on the truss rod cover here. And it is not necessarily, like I said, to tighten it down, with like a torque wrench or something. Just by nature of the design here and the position that it's in, it's going to provide you with that extra protection when you're moving the guitar, when it's being stored, shipped, you name it. So my story here, and again, this guitar will remain nameless until the end of the video. Why not? Because it really doesn't matter. But this guitar, I purchased it about a decade ago, and I knew what I was getting into was not a pristine and new guitar. The seller on eBay, who was in Hawaii actually, was very forthcoming with the fact that the electronics did not work, there was some corrosion, and there was a headstock repair that was not repaired, let's say, in the best way possible. So I knew I was taking on a project, or at least my guitar tech was taking on a project. I got the guitar, took it over to him, and I said, hey, look, let's do the best we can with this. I totally get it if it's not gonna be perfect. So he fixed the electronics, we put a new pickup in it, and most importantly, fixed the headstock, which required him to re-break it, clear out a bunch of old, awful wood glue epoxy, who knows what they used in there, not what you're supposed to use though. And he repaired it, gave it back to me, I took it, I was so excited. Unfortunately, this is where things went wrong. I put it in the case, put the case in the trunk of my car on a beautiful 50-degree day here in Michigan, which if you put something in the trunk of a car, even when it's 50 out, with the bright sun, that trunk is not 50 degrees. You see where this is going. The headstock broke again. So that's not to say that the Atlas C1 can fix a stupid move, for lack of a better term, on my part, but what it will do for me now is something that I wished that I could have had for a long time, because I continued using this guitar after my tech fixed it a second time. I just lost the confidence, not in his work, but in just the structural integrity of this guitar when traveling with it, gigging with it, or even just having it in the case. Because quite frankly, when I opened up this guitar for this video, I was kind of bracing myself, thinking that I might see the headstock detached once again. But not anymore. This device, the C1, aptly named, if you happen to know about vertebrae in the neck, the C1, that's just very clever, I love it. It will provide protection against you breaking your headstock just in general. This is not meant for people like me necessarily who've previously broken their headstocks. This is to prevent that from happening in the first place, which is the goal. Now let's talk about what this guitar is. This guitar is a Gibson Ranger from 2006. It's part of the short-lived Gibson Americana series, and it pains me because these are kind of rare. And you don't want any guitar to have a headstock break, obviously, but if you have a vintage instrument, if you have an instrument that means a lot to you, if you have an instrument that you've invested a lot of money in, or an instrument you just like and you don't want to see broken, consider checking out the Atlas C1. There's really nothing else like it out there. It's one of those things that you don't know you need until you know that it exists. In my case though, I've kind of subconsciously been wishing for something like this, because I don't want to have to repair this guitar again, and I don't want that headstock joint that's been repaired now, let's see, 3 times, 1 very poorly and 2 in my possession. I don't want that to happen again, because eventually the veneer on the front of the headstock, which I've been lucky enough not to break, is gonna break, and it's just not gonna go well. And I really do like this guitar a lot, so I want to see it live a long life, even though I don't play it as much as I used to, because it's pretty specific. It's one of those thin body type acoustic guitars that's solid. I am so appreciative of the opportunity to try out the C1 on this, and if you have a Les Paul or a Gibson style guitar with a 3 on a side headstock, and like I said, that break angle between 10 and 28 degrees, the C1 is for you, and it will hopefully prevent you from ever having to experience what I have experienced multiple times on this guitar, a Gibson Ranger from 2006. That's all for today. Once again, my name is Tom Butwin here for Premier Guitar. Make sure to check out the links in the description below. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet so you don't miss anything in the future, and I will see you in the next one.